some theories on the black hole in the Milky Way. The black hole in the Milky Way moves through time. Event horizon does not move through event time. The black hole center can continually shrink. This is beyond the size of an atom smallness. But if it gets too small, in the law of physics, it explodes inside. What I'm looking for is a shock wave through time and space, not an explosion of light. I take a little piece of that.
This is legal.
Yes. Before the planet got destroyed, they knew it was coming. How do you know something was coming? In the Maya calendar, the only 3 books survived. It says there's a blue star going to appear in the sky very shortly. The only way you can do that, you must warp drive. By warp and drive, you know what's going on the other side of the Milky Way. This is 5,000 some odd years ago. They saw a sun exploded, and they calculated. You have maps of the South Pole in 1512 without the ice. That must have came from someplace else. In the temple, in the Mexican temple, was a clock. In Egypt, there was another clock, a different timetable. I think it was 830 years. I could be wrong by 20 years. But the one in Mexico was a 55-year cycle. You gotta look at this. When they entered the building 3,000 some odd years ago, there was a clock working still. All those years. Because you need a point of reference to start. You just can't go to a clock and say, this is the day things are supposed to do. And on December the 12th, 2012, because you had knowledge of outside our own solar system. This is not because you look at a couple of planets and say, well, on this day we have an Atlantic climate. That's not correct. That's warp drive. They went outside. They able to measure space and time. So a few more years, there's going to be a blue star appear in the sky, because that's in one of the books. I believe I'm right. One of the 3 books survived. They say there will be a blue star appear in the sky. That will cause a drought. What do you mean by that? Go to Neptune. It's not absolute freezing. It's 28-30 degrees from absolute freezing. The last planet. So you appear a star in the sky, and it's blue. It's hot. Blue is hot in the sun spectrum. You might increase the temperature 3 to 7 degrees, the whole planet temperature, the side is facing it. I wish you spin. Where is it? Don't tell specifically, but it might be northern sky. You'll have a book to say, you're going to see a blue sky. Appear in the sky, so you have now 2 moon shadows. You get a magnifying glass, a large one like this big, you feel heat on your hand. You say, what's that? Well, the sun, you burn your hand instantly. But then you feel a little warm. You heat the planet up. You have droughts. You rearrange weather patterns. In those books, it warns you there's a drought coming. They probably knew science. The EPA say, oh, greenhouse effect. No. The real culprit of the greenhouse effect is the sun got hotter. It's a dumb question for the EPA. What was it before they made the Ice Age? A warm planet. 2,500 years ago, Europe had 100 degrees heat wave every summer. That was normal weather. Then the sun cool off, the sun done something, and it cool off. And for 60 years, it really got cold. Parts of some countries collapsed because of lost summers. There's no growing season. It's too cold. In the buildings, in the same concept of King Tut, there might be a building out there that has not been rated. I'm able to reach. An example. In the great piece of Giza, there is an 8-inch hole, runs 40 feet. They went to the other end of the hole. They didn't pick the building apart. They found a block with 2 copper rods sticking out to lock in place. They drilled that block out. They found an empty room. Other side of the empty room was all the block. They didn't tell you they drilled through it. It's a good possibility. There could be a lot of technology behind that block. I recommend rip that goddamn building apart. All of them throughout the world. You might find some answers you don't want to see. You might actually saw a world going to total chaos before the great rift. The shock wave from the black hole comes through. In Scientific America, they say the black hole does go through cycles and will explode. Not outward, but something inside. What if you shock time and space and make a ripple in time and space, a gravity wave? Comes through here. It enters a planet. It goes right through it. From the surface to the core,